What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more melodic, progressive, lightly hard trance. This is a track from 1998, and it's in a style of trance that's somewhere between melodic and progressive trance on the one end and hard trance on the other. And certainly, as I talked about in a number of reactions, hard trance by the time you get to the late 90s, it's a bit different than if you're talking about hard trance from like 94 and 95. So it's not quite as fast as that earlier hard trance, and maybe a bit less acidic, but still with drive, still with, pounding kick drums and a lot of energy, if also melody. So again, this hybrid style of late 90s trance featured in a lot of the records that I was buying in my earliest days buying records. I mentioned at the very beginning I was looking for acid trance and acid techno, wasn't always finding it. And what I did often find in trance sections at some of the record shops I used to go to, and I think this one, is this Higher Source? I think I may have gotten this at Higher Source, which is a record shop that used to be in Huntington Beach, California. It doesn't exist anymore. But yes, what I would often find is this kind of melodic meets hard trance. And this is a track by a gentleman who has gone by many, many names over the years, and who's perhaps most famous for a track made under his own name, or at least under his own surname. We're talking Mustafa Alici. He was born in the Netherlands. I think he made most of his music when he was based in London. I think he still more or less produces today. I know he's put out a couple tracks under his Nemesis name, which is a name he's used for techno and like acid techno kind of tracks, at least as recently as 2019. I remember there was a couple from 2019, digital only, unfortunately. But yes, in 1993, I believe, he made a track called Theme of Roar under the name Alici, and that was sort of a hit. It's very acidic, it's kind of wild. I have a much later remix vinyl that I think was from Flat Life, but it has a number of like more recent remixes of it. But he made tunes in different styles under a number of names, including Dave Holmes, Steve Morley, Profiler, and these were, the three I just mentioned are mostly in the trance realm. Dave Holmes and Steve Morley with a lot of remixes, and then I think Profiler was just a one-off name, and on that vinyl I think the most prominent version is a Steve Morley remix. So he was like using a lot of aliases, but he's very prolific, certainly was in the 90s and early 2000s. And we're going to hear a tune he made as Dave Holmes in 1998 called Samsara, which I think is the name of like a London club that played like trance type music. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of references to that name in the world of trance music of the 90s. There's the track Escape from Samsara, and there's a number of, again, I think like remixes that make reference to it and so on. But in any case, this track is called Samsara, and we're going to listen to the Steve Morley Rix, like RX remix of the Dave Holmes tune. So again, it's like him remixing his own track under different names. But back in the day, I didn't know these things because sometimes it wasn't clear. I think on this one it actually does say, yeah, all tracks written and produced by M. Alici. So if you looked at the fine print, sometimes you could pick up on these things. But normally when you'd see a name like, oh, so Dave Holmes, original artist, Steve Morley, remixer, got it. And then, again, you find out through Discogs, if not in the fine print of vinyl, that actually it was the same person. But yes, as I said, this is a track that sort of is somewhere between hard trance and progressive melodic trance. It's from 1998. It's on, is it RCM Records? Yeah, I think RCM. Not sure if that's a German or a UK label. I'm going to guess UK because, again, he was based in the UK at this time. Doesn't seem to clearly indicate here. But yes, let's give it a listen. This is Samsara by Dave Holmes, the Steve Morley remix, or RX, Rix, and it's from 1998. And it's on the wrong tempo. Or revolutions per minute. Synth rhythm. ethereal vocal synth rhythm. That kick. It's got punch to it. Electronic chirps. Buzz at the bottom of the track. Little acid spiral. No second breakdown proper. It's like it's a quick re-elaboration. The kick drum's there during the second breakdown. Again, there's like this electric buzz on top of the bass line, like boiling over the bass line. Electronic, almost robotic little communication squiggles. Oh, there's a remix of that. What is it? Every time I see you falling, I get down on my knees and pray. There's is a trance remix of that tune, which has that same, that little percussive rhythm. I feel like those two tracks would mix perfectly. That last sound there, that little, it's like a reverse clap or something. It is. In fact, did you hear when I like rewound the record? Listen. Yeah, it's definitely a reverse clap. Yeah, that's a prominent element. At a number of the measure breaks, including the big build-up and releases, there's that reverse clap sound. I enjoy that. So yeah, again, it's somewhere between melodic trance and hard trance. It's driving. It's pretty fast for trance, especially like later 90s trance, which was starting to slow down a little bit relative to like mid 90s trance. And I enjoy the, again, like driving electronic, a bit acidic intro, middle, like interlude and outro sections, and then the two big melody sections have this like cathedral of trance. It like feels like we're in this big gothic kind of building, but with an electronic flavor. So yeah, I enjoy the sort of gothic melodic elements of this mixed with the driving electronic late 90s hard trance feel. So a really cool tune, I think an underrated tune. And again, like when someone uses so many aliases, I get it, you're trying to like keep different parts of your production output in different lanes so that like, you know, maybe some people who follow, like again, Nemesis is sort of a name that he used for techno. So maybe if some people following the Nemesis stuff are like, oh, you make kind of melodic trance, like, I don't know, maybe that would sort of like take some of the mystique away. But in retrospect, sometimes I wish these artists would have been more clear. They're like, oh, you made this other stuff too? Well, I want to check it out because I love your productions in this genre. I wonder what you do in this genre. Because for me, again, I'm listening to Goa trance, hard trance, melodic trance, techno, acid techno, gabber. I was all over the place. So I would have been keen, if I had realized before Discogs, to hear more of his stuff under some different names. And again, that was one of the great things about discovering Discogs, is that you can start like, oh, he used this alias? Oh, wow. Not only have I not heard this record, I never even heard of this label. And oh, listen to this other record on this label. And you just go on these rabbit holes and find so much out. And now I've been doing that for like 20 plus years. So that's over time how you begin to pick up more and more knowledge and begin to pick up more and more records. But yes, it's like Pablo Gargano with Eve. It's like Eve Records, I knew it back then, it was amazing, it was awesome. I didn't know I was hearing like mostly all of the same guy's production, and even, you know, David Craig, producer on Eve Records and Telica, but most of his tunes were made with Pablo, engineered by Pablo. So like, I didn't really know who Pablo Gargano was until after I already had a lot of his records. So yeah, back in the 90s we were grasping in the dark for pieces of information as we could find them. But yes, again, shout out to Mustafa Alici, aka Dave Holmes, aka Steve Morley, aka Profiler. I'm going to come back with a reaction right after this by a tune under the Profiler name. The only record he released under that name, and I think there were a number of his aliases that were like that. And on some of them, as with the Profiler record, the Steve Morley name would also show up as a remixed artist. So again, uncovering these things over time has been helpful. So hopefully, you know, I can give you folks a sort of a primer or a crash course in things that took me years to accumulate in terms of understanding of what and whom I was listening to. So in any case, let me know what you think of this trance tune. I will see you next time. Peace.